Good morning, good evening. Welcome to everybody jumping in. How are you going? How's your weekend being? Are you keeping on top of everything? Lots of jumping in the chat. I see a live stream consultants. I have a big blue button actually on eCam. It's blue. So, but yeah, and funnily enough, I read that and then hit go live. So thanks for the reminder. Good morning, Leanne. It's great to see you in here as well. Doug is jumping in. So we've got our amazing mods, as well as like Captain Crush is here and Livestream Consultants is here. Yeah, like jumping in. Everyone's jumping in. Make sure you say hi as you come in. I know that you could be doing something else. You could be traveling to work, or you could be on your way home from work, or cooking dinner, whatever it is that you're doing. Just let me know that you're around, that you're here. So this stream I wanted to talk about today was like last week we had a big chat about creating run of shows and understanding our sort of like our purpose based on what we're writing from our run of shows. So but today I wanted to talk a little bit more about why. What is it that you want to get out of your live stream? Like, obviously we there's all like the YouTubey things, like, we want our views, we want our watch time, blah, 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 blah. We want all of that. But what is it you actually want out of your live streams? Like for me, I want interaction. I want to hear from you in the chat. I want to know what your questions are. I want to know where your struggles are, and I want to try to help. That is my why for my live streams. Now, you could be a gaming streamer. You don't care about any of that. You just want to game and you want to have fun. And that's your why. You want to play this particular game and chat with your community while you're doing it. So let me know, what is your why for maybe your next live stream? Because the why changes. The why could change. Like, so in this live stream, I want to know what your whys are for your next live stream. I want to know what the goal is for your live stream. So each individual live stream could have a different goal, and it absolutely can. So understanding why you want to create a stream and understanding your motivation for it, that can really help you to either push forward, change tack, create your thumbnail, look at your title. There's so many things that bounce off of the why. So let's find out. And in the chat we've got Captain Crush. I'm going good. So yeah, I'm all right. I'm still trying to stave off a cold, I think, and I can feel it. It's been trying to get me for a week. So I'm winning so far, but I think I'm winning less, if that makes any sense. I'm winning less. Livestream Consultants is watching from the big brand new streaming room. The photos you sent looked amazing. Honestly, they looked so good. Home Rapid Repair said that my last live was to shake off the rust before I was a guest on someone else's stream. That's a really great reason to live stream. And I know you had some success with your stream as well, which was a little bit surprising. Well, I mean, it's not surprising to me, but I think it was surprising to you, because we have these expectations. Like, we're going to go live, we have expectations, and whether they are high expectations or low expectations, the expectation doesn't always line up with reality, right? Like, let me know in the chat, like, for you, does expectation always line up with reality? It doesn't for me. It doesn't. So yeah, I'm just having a check. Esme Sky, Esme Sky was first chatter as well. So and I forgot to share that. So in my cups today, I do have tea and I have loads of water. I've just literally finished a cup of coffee. So we've got, I'm like coffeeed. I very much struggled to sleep last night. It was very hot here. So when I went to sleep at 1 a.m. finally, it was a feels like temperature of 25 degrees. So I think it was about 21. It feels like 25, and it was 100% humidity. And it was just so steamy and awful that I just really struggled to sleep. So I'm a bit flat today because I've had no sleep. SMA Sky says I got on my phone just before the 30-minute notification went out. Well, that's cool. And Doug says the humidity is up right now. Yep, it really is. Look, and it feels weird to me. Like we've got all the aircons on in the house today, and it feels odd because the sun's not shining. It's a bit rainy, but geez, it's warm and muggy. Livestream consultant says it always lines up as long as your expectations are correct. Always having the long game in mind. I don't know if I agree with that. Like I try to consider myself to be an optimist, but a realist, like a mix of the two, right? A realist and an optimist. And so I try to be positive, but at the same time, I know that just because I want to be positive doesn't mean it's really going to happen, right? Well, is that more of a pragmatist? I don't even know. Like, this is not the stream for that. But I always expect everything to crash and I expect everything to crash and burn, right? So, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And oh, there we go, Leanne. Thank you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I figure if I expect it to crash and burn and then it doesn't crash and burn, then yay, that's a win, right? So that is that a pessimist optimist? I don't know. Doug's got optim realists. Now I remember looking into it a few years ago and actually working out exactly what I was. And it was like this weird one that I hadn't seen before. But it's basically a mix of a realist and I can't remember if it was a mix of realism or a mix of optimism. With pessimism. Because I have lived in this world, and so it's really easy, like, to not be super fired up all the time. Wow, this stream took a turn. All right, let's just veer back onto the highway here. So having an idea of what your goal is for each individual stream, and it is a per piece of content thing. It's like each time you create a video, each time you create a live stream, each time you create a short, the goal for each individual piece of content could be different. Now, it will go into the same audience, or it should be, or slightly, broader version of that audience. But the goals for each individual thing could be different. Like what is it like that you're trying to make someone feel? Like you're trying to make them feel good, or you're trying to make them interested, or you're trying to make them laugh, or you're trying to educate them. All these different things. And sure, you could do that over multiple videos or multiple pieces of content. There's nothing to say you can't. But it can change if that's what you want to do. It can be different. It can create a different feeling for different things. And not to say that every piece of content needs to invoke feeling. I just find that the content that I personally enjoy the most kind of does. And it's not like, I get teary or like overjoyed or anything. But it's just like I was actually just messaging with a friend of mine on Twitter or X. I don't know when my brain's ever going to change it to X first in my brain. It's always going to be Twitter then X. But anyway, and we were chatting about like the different things that YouTube has suggested that we watch that we actually really enjoy. And for me, one of the really weird ones that I'm shocked that I enjoy is lawn care videos. And like I've even got like favorite lawn care channels like SB Mowing and Tim the Mowman, which my husband finds hilarious because he's like, so you'll watch Tim the Mowman on television, but you won't watch me, Tim, mow the lawn. I'm like, yeah, because you're not sped up, dude. And and so the feeling that invokes for me is like the satisfaction of that amazing job done, and just watching the adventures and the pitfalls and because they do speed it up, because goodness me, I couldn't stand there and watch an entire front and back lawn go from wild men from Borneo bush scrub all the way down to manicured lawns, without it being sped up. But yeah, it's it is well, that there you go. Those John's here, sorry. Those transformations can be both satisfying and a time suck. Well, I do tend to have them on in the background while I'm doing something else, so I don't just sit there and watch it. But yeah. It is definitely it depends on what you do. So for me, with having two channels, one of my channels is yarn craft related. So I've got to create things out of yarn, and that is a really slow process. So and it can take hours to do anything. So like, like at the moment I'm making a blanket and I've got to make like 40 of these. I mean, and the patterns are all different, so but it is it's so I need something on, and these are perfect for that. So it really depends. And then you've got, like, I've got the other channels that I absolutely love, like Cecilia Bromdale. She is living on Svalbard, which is like the northernmost island in the world, the closest to the Antarctic that you can live and not be, an Antarctic scientist. Antarctic or Arctic? I don't know. She's up near Norway. Anyway, and watching what they do and how they do things and everything, it's just really interesting. And then lately it's been there's this one called Off Grid Alaska, and Off Grid Alaska, I think that's what the channel's called. And what's really weird about Off Grid Alaska is they don't know what they're doing. They're learning. They bought a house or a cabin out the middle of Alaska somewhere, and they basically bought the house unseen, and so they've turned up and they've been just doing the house up as and so you've been watching this progress, but I'm also watching their progress as they learn how to edit, how to add music, understanding their cameras, like, and it's really fun. Like they really, like, I say they don't know what they're doing, but their channel's doing really well. But this is one of those prime examples of just do it. Don't not upload the video because you accidentally shot your footage vertically rather than horizontally, or you've just got a photo and you're just doing some talk over the top of it. These guys' channel is doing let me just check. I don't even know how many subscribers they've got, but I know they're getting sponsor deals now. Like, they've been going now for about a year. And they got a sponsor deal for some solar panels for their cabin because they had some, and they weren't doing the greatest. And now they've got a sponsor deal for solar panels. Home Rapid Repair says we all need sponsors to fly us to Dubai, like Nick Nimmin. Look, I'm okay with not going to Dubai. Being a girl, honestly, there's locations in the world that is probably further down my list that I want to go to than others. Let me just go to Off Grid Alaska. Alaska. I'm like, is that even the channel name? Let me just check. It is the channel name, and they currently have nearly 50,000 subscribers and 41 videos. And they said at the end of 2023, we purchased an abandoned off-grid cabin in South Central Alaska. And it was really funny because, like, the first video of theirs that I saw was just this snowy covered, like, it was some drone footage of just, and let's just say not awesome drone footage, but it was drone footage of this house. It's a bit dilapidated, but the property was, like, had all these bumps in it, and there's something like 20 abandoned cars. And so they had to, we had to wait for the snow to melt, and then they had to remove the cars and all this, so it's this whole journey. So Dallas, Texas is pretty close to the top of your list, I would say. Look, I would say that Dallas Vid Summit is the top of my list for traveling for work. I would prefer it if it was somewhere else, honestly. But I'll take it. I'll take it in Dallas, like, whatever. There's plenty of places around the world I'd love to go and see. I don't know how I would like trying to think of it from like a perspective of sponsors to fly us there. I can't see basically getting anywhere except for the USA. With that sponsors actually want to send you. Doug says Brisbane, lol. I mean, Brisbane would be hilarious for Midsummer. No one would show up. Not even Australians, right? Like, not even Australians would show up. But yeah, it's I love that. But yeah, so Vidsummit's up on the top of the list. But yeah, like having a trip, and whether it's whether you've got extra days or not to do some stuff that you want to do, or whether it's just a fully fledged work trip, having someone else pay for that trip is kind of cool. Like, I was last year for Vidsummit. It was really insane. Like, I don't know if you guys know. I mean, I think I did tell you, but I waited months before I waited months before I told anyone outside of a couple of close friends, because I honestly thought they're going to change their minds. They're going to realize how in my brain how ridiculous it would be to send me to that. But I still got to go, and it was just mind-boggling. It was just mind-boggling. Australians wouldn't show up unless it was musical sport. Livestream consultant says, I do want to go to Australia to see the Great Barrier Reef and Uluru, then visit everyone that I know that lives in the land of Oz. Something for you to keep an eye on is when you come to Australia. Australia is a lot bigger than people assume. So yeah, like Great Barrier Reef and Uluru are probably, I don't know the distances. I'd have to check, but they're not exactly close to each other. Let's just say that. And luckily for you, you know a few people in Brisbane. So usually you need to fly into Brisbane to get to Great Barrier Reef. So because Brisbane and then another flight a couple of hours north. John says, I spent a week in Brisbane in January years ago. I swear I couldn't be outside for more than a few minutes for fear of catching on fire. Ridiculous weather. Well, you came in January. What do you expect? What do you expect? Oh, goodness me. Yeah, and basically that is the fear. You basically either everything's kindling dry and we're in fear of bushfires, or everything's so wet that you're like, are we flooding again? And that's basically been it. Like, and even in the suburb that I'm in, like I'm in a suburb that's about half an hour's drive, not during peak hour, from Brisbane CBD, the capital city of the state. And within 2 years, we had fires 1 year and then floods the following year. It's just weird. It's just weird. I drove to Florida from New Mexico, not a problem. Okay, all right. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying just be aware it's a big country. I think it's usually Brits that struggle with the enormity of how large our country is. Because in Britain, if you drive for 4 hours in any direction, you're in a different country. In Australia, if you drive for 4 hours, half of the time you haven't left the city. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Aline Smith, it's so good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So having a plan or a goal for your live stream is really good. Like she says, with no plan. And it's not so much like it's not even so much like having the set out layout plan like what we talked about last week, but what is your win? Like when you end that stream, what is the one thing that needed to happen for you to go, that was good, is it like, because for me, I don't look at the number of viewers or the watch time to decide if my live stream was a win, and I know some people do, and it's not a wrong thing. It's just not what I do, because right now with this particular channel, I sometimes find that sort of data less than encouraging. Although it is encouraging. I did receive a text message from YouTube over the weekend. Well, it wasn't a text message, but it was like an email, alert to go and check my channel. But since the beginning of this channel, we've now hit the 3,000 watch hours. And then in the last 365 days, we've hit nearly 2,000 watch hours. So there's positive, there's stuff. It's good. It's good. I'm trying not to be negative. But what I'm saying is when I leave this stream, it's not the watch hours or how many people were in the chat that makes me go, that was a win. What makes me leave the chat is what kind of conversation did we have? Did I really feel like I had to really carry it a lot? Or was there lots of backwards and forwards? And were there good questions that came from you guys that I was actually able to answer? You know, things like that. That's how I determine what's a good chat here on this channel. Over on the Fiberific channel, how I determine what's a good chat is basically it's similar, but I do keep a bit more of an eye on the stats because that channel is larger and I don't find that the stats as demoralizing. Doug says that was my first experience coming to Brisbane back in the day, 1992, January, hot and humid. Yeah. It is crazy. Livestream consultant says, I just laughed the distance off. I've driven through Texas multiple times. Feels like you changed time zones 3 times, but it's only 2. The other thing is, like, if you're driving around Australia, you got to remember we drive on, like, our road rules are different than yours. You would have to consciously be remembering to keep left the whole time. A Brisbane YouTube gathering, but time it to coincide with the river fire. So hard to explain those who haven't experienced it. River fire is like it's a big fireworks display along the Brisbane River. The Brisbane River is a huge river, and they have multiple fireworks. Think like New Year's fireworks displays over Sydney, right? We do that up here for River Fire. We don't do it for New Year's quite so big. And so I personally hate River Fire. I don't go. I live here. I don't go. Purely because it's really hard to get out. Like after River Fire's over, it's really hard to get home. Public transport's a mess. You absolutely can't drive. And the last time I went to River Fire, which was probably in the 90s, I was crammed so hard on a train that my leg had dislocated. And because I was being held upright between 2 people, I had no idea that my knee had dislocated until the train started emptying out and I got dropped because I was like to the point where I was up off the ground. Like there was so many people crammed together. I was just up off the ground a little bit. And it wasn't until the train started emptying out, like, you know, half an hour down the line, that that I dropped to the ground, and that's when I realized my leg was out and I couldn't get off the train properly. And I missed my stop, and yeah. So I have that memory associated with River Fire, so I don't like River Fire. Yeah, I like the fireworks, but I hate the parking and the traffic. I think the fireworks are beautiful, and luckily they do put them on television. Doug likes the flyovers. That was fun, and I used to work in the city, and so when they did the test run, that was really cool. They do like really low flying, like it used, as Doug said, it used to be the F-111s, but now it's the Growlers, but they come in really low, and then yeah, it was very cool. Fireworks, but also plane formation for some reason to the Top Gun soundtrack. Yeah, like for me, I'm like the plane formation thing at night, like I get it, but I think the plane formation looks better through the day, honestly. So yeah, but you know, I mean, like, is there anything else we can line it up with in Brisbane? Probably not. There's not a lot going on up here. Yeah, there's just like I get messages like, oh, hey, can you tell me any YouTube creator events is happening in Australia? And I'm just like, as far as I'm aware, there's none. Like not one, not a single one. And I'm like, you might be able to find a podcast event, or a marketing event. But YouTube specific, no, there's nothing. And it's not like we're a tiny country, right? Like, it's not like there's no creators here. But yeah, I would love to be wrong. I would love for someone to go, what about this event that I just hadn't heard of that I could start going to? I would love to be wrong. So if you guys know of a YouTube specific event that happens in Australia, that's not just a group meetup, I'm talking like an actual event with speakers or workshops or something like that. Like I see meetups happen all the time, and I've been to a couple, and I either feel really old because it's all like teenage vloggers and, you know, prank channels, or hardly anyone shows up, which, you know, you still get to have some great conversations, but it's just, you know, it's not, I mean, I could start something. Like, it was like one of those things, like back quite a few years ago, I don't even know how long ago now, I realized there was actually no local craft groups that met at a time that I could go. I needed something like at night that wasn't a 40-minute drive away, or an hour's drive away. And so it was like, there just wasn't anything. Everything was through the day and I couldn't do anything through the day. And so I was like, oh man. So I was like, I'll just start something. And now we have like 20, 30 people come along a couple of times a month. So maybe I could just start a YouTube regular meetup where we chat, make a YouTube mastermind group. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we all start one in our local areas? I think maybe that could be it. Wait until you have a B1B Lancer fill your rinse screen while it's less than 500 feet off the ground 3 times. Get your attention really quick as you cannot hear it coming. Oh, wow. Okay. John says, admittedly, I don't like to travel at the best of times, but why travel across the country world to hear people say stuff they could just say in a video, podcast, or stream? Look, online is convenient, like as Doug's written here. Online is so convenient. It really is. I agree with you. It really is. But one thing that I've noticed, and this just might be a personality thing for me, right, is going to these events is not so much about the speakers. It's about everybody that's there wants to hear what that speaker has to say, which is kind of like a what's the word when it's like pre-approved? It's like the approval process. Like, okay, I know that these people are all interested in this, so therefore we have something in common, like a common ground thing. And it's there's nothing quite like being in the same room, especially in such an industry as ours, where we're quite often by ourselves at home. And I actually love being by myself at home. I actually hate having to go grocery shopping or go out or anything like it. I'm actually like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I actually love being at home, but I also really, and even though I get really anxious about it and I'm not really good with people, stepping out of my comfort zone and going and meeting other creators who I know are going through the same things as me, living the same sort of, you know, journey. I find that to be really encouraging, and I come back from it fired up. I'm exhausted because I'm an introvert, and so all my energy is gone once I sleep for 2 days, and then I'm fired up. John's, it's not so much the info, but the chemistry of being there in person. Absolutely. John says, as an introvert, I can only people for short periods of time. I get that. I do understand that. One of the things I learned with like when I was doing VidCon down in Melbourne, my first year, my hotel was a bit of a trek away, and I learned that was not enough. Like I needed my hotel to be as close as possible, so that at different times through the day, I could just go and sit in my room and have a cup of tea in the quiet and just recharge, because I recharge alone. And it's something my husband has had to adjust to. It's like it's not a reflection on him. It's just I recharge better by myself. So he has learnt now that we'll go on people, and then we'll get, like, I'll get in the car and just collapse. And it'll be not until hours later when, you know, I've been home for a little bit and quietly just doing something by myself. And then I'll be like, oh, that was really great, blah, 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 blah. And he'll just be like, oh my God, he goes, the battery's recharged, I see. But for me, I learned that having my hotel room really close, having it in the same building is preferable, where I can just jump in a lift and go up to my room and just sit down for 10 minutes, because I also get FOMO. So I've got I need to get away from all these people, but I also don't want to miss out on what's going on. So if I just go up to my hotel room and have a cup of tea in the quiet, I have like a little recharge. I'll have a little lay down. Quite often I'll throw some ice packs on my knees, because my knees don't like it when I'm people. because I'm walking around and talking and stuff. So I'll quite often have a cup of tea, ice pack my knees, watch a bit of something, or even just sit there in the quiet and look out the window. And then, yeah, that's how I deal with it. Vid Summit was a bit different because it was a work event, so I felt like I was like at work, so I didn't feel like I could escape like that. But in saying that, with how my how the setup was, once the event started, I was actually in a fairly quiet little corner that didn't get a ton of people. So, and no people for long periods of time, because it was either staff coming in and out or people who were just popping in and then leaving. So I didn't feel that same overwhelm. Like by the end of the day, I was shattered. I was absolutely exhausted, but there wasn't that constant barrage that I quite often get at events. John says, the last YouTube gathering I went to was in Melbourne 17 years ago. So before Vid Summit last year, the most recent event I did was, I think, 2019, which was VidCon Melbourne. But they did 3 years in Melbourne, and I went to all three. And then absolutely loved it. I would book into the hotel attached to the convention center for the second and third year. And the other thing was I got an industry pass for the third year. I got industry passes for the second and third year, I think. I can't remember. I know I definitely got a creator pass for the first year, which I regretted because there were talks I wanted to go to that I didn't realize I couldn't go to on a creator pass. And so, yes, okay, so industry pass for second and third year. It is bucketing down. Wow. The rain is so heavy. I just heard it just come through. Like, I have a brick and tile house and I can hear the rain hammering on the roof. Like if you've got a tin roof, you expect it. Not so much with tiles. But yeah, so having these sorts of events would be really cool. A friend of mine and I keep having this conversation because I'm like, you should run an event. And he's like, I'm not going to run an event, but if you run one, I'll come. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to run an event. And he's like, well, neither do I. But I think someone needs to run an event in Australia, honestly. A live stream consultant says, even though I'm mostly an extrovert, I'll back away from the crowd to think and to watch the bigger picture of all the people and how they're interacting. Yeah, that is a really big thing I love to watch. I love to just be on the outside. Like, I like to have the choice, right? I don't like it when I'm on the outside and I'm not allowed to just venture in every now and again. But I love to have the choice of being able to step back, take it in as a whole, understand like the reality of like, oh my God, I am here. Look at all these people just talking to each other and having this phenomenal conversations with other creators when you know full well most of them are like us, where it is just us by ourselves, either in our homes or in our studios, or wherever it is that we record. The majority of creators are just like us, where we don't have massive teams, where we don't have, you know, big events and stuff that we can get to go to. It's like an annual like journey to go and hang out with other people who are on the same path as you. And so I think that it's a really, if you can do it, you should do it at least once, right? Like if you can. And I understand that we can't always. And that's why I'd love to see more events around the world, and not to water down anything like Vid Summit, but just to make it for those people that just cannot travel internationally. And it's expensive. Like seriously, it's really expensive to do. And most mid to small level creators can't afford that. And so it's a real reach for them to go. So having something that's a bit more local, with some of our, like, I mean, I'd love to be like, let's just create an event in Australia. We'll get Nick, we'll get Roberto, we'll get like some other, you can't, because you have to pay for all their costs, right? And it ends up, you know, then you need a venue, then you need insurance, you know, like it becomes this whole production. But Oh my gosh, that rain is insane. I'm just like, are all the windows closed? Yes, they are, because the air conditioners are on. Because that would be coming in. But yeah, I don't know. Can you guys hear it? I don't know if you can. It is so loud. It's so off-putting. Sorry, I've got a window open just over here, like a curtain open, and I can just see it just hammering down outside. John can't hear it. Livestream consultant says we can hear it in your mic. Oh, that's weird. So like, oh, you might be able to hear it when I talk, because I've got like noise gating on, so it might be cutting off. Because I also have a fan on, and maybe it's the fan you can hear. I don't know, but it is hammering down. Like, I would not want to be driving in this. Let me just tell you right now. I'm gonna have some tea. But yeah, let me know, like in the chat, have you been to a creative event and which one was it? And you can put in the year, it could have been 20 years ago, but let me know. Because I really have to protect my voice. So I'm really going to keep drinking the tea. Oh, it does actually feel good. So I've done, let me think, 3 years worth of VidCon when it came to Melbourne. I've done one Vid Summit, which was amazing. And also I've done a couple of, there's a company in Australia here called, oh, what are they called? They're based in Brisbane. Doug will know who I'm thinking of. It's not the Creator Generation. That's the name of their. Oh my gosh, my brain's just not giving it to me. Let me just. I'll just go and find. I'll find one of the guys on Facebook, and that'll tell me who he works for. If Facebook's not letting me search, let me go to LinkedIn. All right. Let me try again. There we go. Changes Studios. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I blanked on Changes Studios. Anyway, Changes Studios runs some events in cooperation with YouTube here in Australia. And I've been to a handful of theirs. And they're all right. They're okay. They're a bit different. Sometimes I sort of sit there thinking, wow, this is really old news, which sounds awful. But the actual event itself is always really good. My experience of life generally, though, is people who have similar interests to me don't live in or around my smallish town. Agreed. I don't have, like, I had to find the people. I had to make it happen. And originally my craft group was not as close to my home as it is. It was a bit further west. It was about a 25-minute drive for me, but that meant it was only like a 20 to 25-minute drive for some ladies who could never get to events because everything was an hour away. So, which doesn't sound a lot, but at night driving by yourself, it can be a little bit daunting. Livestream Consultant says, I still want to get to AirVenture Oshkosh one of these years. It's the absolute mecca for aviation. It sounds insane. Oshkosh. Isn't it? I thought Oshkosh was like a children's wear range of clothing. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe my brain's connected two things together that's not. There's actually, it's really funny. There's actually a fiber and yarn craft event that happens in the US. It actually happens in Dallas. It actually happens in the exact same convention center. And it's a couple of weeks before, it'll be a couple of weeks before Vid Summit this year. And I'm like, could I not just go a couple of weeks early and find some really dingy, like, hotel or something to stay in for a couple of weeks, just in that in-betweeny time? Because then I could do both, because that would be insane. But the other one is an event called Rhinebeck. It's a fiber arts event up in well, in Rhinebeck, really. It's New York. So New York, northern New York, I don't know. Up that way. It's cold. I've seen footage. It looks very cold. People can wear their woolens. It looks great because here in Queensland, I'm in the middle of knitting a sweater and just trying it on to make sure the sleeves were the right length was awful. It was just like, I'm melting, but I just need this sleeve just to measure it. So yeah, but yeah, like having events, even outside of YouTube that are like niche specific to go to would be amazing. So, like while for this channel, podcasting events, marketing events, they can all be sort of like a little bit round into live streaming a little bit. On my fiber arts channel, on my yarn crafting channel, it's anything to do with yarn, knitting, spinning, weaving, any of that sort of stuff. I'd love to go and do some more of those events. And those ones are really like, it sounds awful. All of the events I want to go to are really selfish events because they're my passions. And it's just like, you know, it's a work trip. Like I used to have to do the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show every year for work. I would have a stall and I would be making stock for like 3 months beforehand, working my butt off, drive for 2 days to get there, run my stall, drive for 2 days to get home. But it was just like, it was a lot of hard work, but it was also where all my people went. Every yarn crafter that could in Australia converged on this country town called Bendigo for the Sheep and Wool Show. It is the largest event of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. And I actually believe it's bigger than Rhinebeck, but Rhinebeck's I think it's like they keep saying it's bigger than Rhinebeck, but I don't think you can compare the two. They're two different events. But yeah, it's just, you selfishly go on these things for work, but they really are for work and for play, right? Which, how is that not a double win? Livestream Consultant says it's Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Like seriously, like I really feel for anybody who has a speech impediment of any description who lives in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Trying to get those words out together is hard. But the Oshkosh you are thinking of is a children's line, if I'm okay. So I'm not going totally insane. But is there really a town called Oshkosh? That's so odd. I mean, they're probably like, oh my God, there's really a clothing line called Oshkosh. Because it's like normal home for them. So, yeah. Oh, the rain has stopped. Or at least it's settled. At least it's light enough now that I can't actually hear it through the roof. So that is good. But yeah, just, I don't know. Maybe it is just a me thing. And it could be, and that's okay too. We can have just me things where attending these things, Oshkosh Bagosh, wasn't that the ad? Yeah, I can't remember, but I think it was something like that. It was an odd ad. I remember that, and it's specifically odd that I remember it because I'd never put my daughter in any Oshkosh clothing, or at least not that I'm aware of. I didn't go shopping for it. But yeah. So, yeah, it's just understanding what our goals are, planning to meet our goals, driving for it. As a person who has to be very careful about the goals that I set for my own, personal well-being, understanding your own self in your goal setting, can be really helpful. But at the same time, when you're setting goals for things, are they not supposed to be a little bit of a push? Are they not supposed to sort of stretch you a little bit to help you grow? I was chatting with some people and they were talking about, what their word of the year is. And I was like, mine's growth. And they were like, no, we want something more. Like, we don't want just something about what you want to do on your channel. I'm like, no, like personal growth, personal development. I want to grow in so many areas. I want to grow in my education. I do want to grow my channels. But that's just one part of it, like growth in general. So like in understanding, in acceptance, there's so many areas that I can grow in that I really do want to, learn and educate and stretch and just, and then you grow into that thing and then you become comfortable there and then you grow into the next thing. I don't know. That's where I'm heading. So I don't know if that's a thing for you. If that's like, do you have a word of the year for your goals? You don't have to. It's not usually something that I do, but over the last couple of years, I found it really helpful to have just a one word thing to help me keep focused. Because I don't do I've discussed this before, but I don't do New Year's resolutions. I think about the year and plan seasons, and I'm still planning my seasons. I haven't 100% locked them down yet. I had a very chaotic December, and that's usually when I do it. So, but I usually try to plan a season of health, where I focus on my own personal health journey, whether it's controlling, my breathing better or my skin or whatever it is. Like there seems to be something breaking on my body every 15 minutes. It's definitely, so I have like a season of health, then I like have a season of education. And just because I have like these 90-day focuses for these things doesn't mean it doesn't happen all year round. But what it does is makes me really, think about it and plan it and get used to the habit so that it can actually just naturally roll into the rest of the year. So, and that tends to be more what I do. Livestream consultant says, if you're not looking far enough outside of your comfort zone, you won't grow, but do not make them so huge that they're not even remotely attainable, because that is just as unproductive. Yes, that's right. I made a goal a couple of years ago to go to Vid Summit. And the plan was working, everything was going really well. And then some stuff outside of my own personal power changed, which meant that I couldn't go. And it was such a huge toll on me mentally that it's made me really cautious about some of those really big, scary goals like that one. It doesn't mean I don't set big, scary goals for personal development and things like that I can actually have more control over. But when it comes to things like Vid Summit, where that's a massive international trip that costs an absolute boatload of money, I don't have as much control over that as I would like. Like some people are like, well, it's just money. And it's just like, well, it's just money if you have money, right? But yeah, it's one of those things. Trish does stuff. It's so great to see you. It's been a long time. Thanks for jumping in. But yeah, so just making your plans or making your goals. Look, I like to make some little mini goals, right? Some ones that I know I can hit, because they help to give me the momentum for the bigger goals, right? So they help to like, okay, I've stepped here and I've stepped here. And like, it's like when you're crossing a riverbed on stepping rocks, right? And then you're real short like me. Everything's like a bigger step than for most people. You've really got to stretch it out and hope that rock's not going to fall out from underneath you, right? And so there's these goals, but then there's the one where you've got to like stand on the rock and kind of jump. They're the big ones. Where tall people are still just stepping, but I've got to jump because I'm short. I have short legs. So yeah, so having a mix of all the goals, I think having a mix of small goals, big hairy goals, like having a mixture so that you can win something. I need to have the wins personally. Like I'm that person who writes a list each day and puts stuff on there that I've already done. Like, yes, I did do that this morning. So, and crossed it off. So then I got to cross it off. So yeah, it's definitely an unusual brain, and I've had to learn how to live with it. I've had it for a while now. John says, I can get overwhelmed and paralyzed by a desire for perfectionism if I think too far ahead. Just take the next action. Yeah, John, look, I totally understand that. I really do. And I have this thing in my brain where even when my world has crashed for whatever reason, um, I have a mantra, and it sort of keeps me moving, which is just do the work, just do the work, just do the work. And I could be in tears and like for whatever that's happened, and I'll be like, just do the work, just do the work, and I can just force myself to just keep doing the work. And there's been a couple of occasions over the last sort of 10 years where it's been really important that I just kept the momentum going, because if I stopped, I didn't know if I would be able to start again. And that, like, there's nothing to say don't give yourself some grace. Like, when something's really bad, you can just have a day of grief or a day of mourning or whatever, but you can't wallow in it forever. And sometimes you just have to, like, I had a thing happen last week where I'm not going to go into too many details, but it was a thing that made me really, really sad, right? And it was a work thing, and it was very disappointing. And I was crying because that's what I do. And I just needed like a day of mourning as such. And my husband was just like, "Wow, this is ridiculous, la la la." And I'm like, "Honey, I'll be fine tomorrow. Today I can't think about it. All right, I just need to just focus on some me things for a little bit. Tomorrow will be fine, all right." And tomorrow was fine. But understanding how your own brain works can really help in that. John says, yeah, I think putting your head down and just doing the work is always a good idea. Yeah, my mum has always been concerned that maybe I'm a little too work focused, because like if something, like especially my young years, if something crashed and burned, I just go and get another job. So at one stage I had 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job, because I like ran at different times of the day, and I just didn't have to be at home like ever. I just went to work, and it was work one job, then go to work for the next job, then come home and sleep for 6 hours, and then go to work for one job. And she was just like, you can't do this long term. And I'm like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And I did it for like 2 years. But yeah, maybe I'm stubborn also. John says, don't stare at the analytics, make the next thing. Yeah, like, look, Justin Brown at Primal Video has a really great way of looking at that. Like, look at your analytics and go, that's interesting, and then keep going. Like, don't put any like, some people really like and diving deep and getting the information, that's not a bad thing. But becoming obsessive with it is a bad thing. Russell, who sometimes jumps into this chat, he calls it hyperanalytica. And it's where you just hyper focus on the analytics, and that's all you look at, and you make all your decisions based off it. And if the analytics are bad for whatever reason, you can get frozen. Whereas if you don't have hyper analytica, you can just keep making the next thing, which is where Justin's thing is: look at the analytics, understand the analytics, go, that's interesting, and then move on. Don't put any like self-worth or any huge value points on top of those analytics until you need to. Trish says, I've just come back to YouTube after a few months off. I just need to catch up. I'm totally out of touch. I don't know if you're totally out of touch. You've just got to reach back in. Not sure what's worse, Hyper-Analytica or Cambridge Analytica. I don't know what's worse either. Honestly, I don't know. They're both bad. Can't they just both be bad? Trish says, I don't dare look at the analytics. Nothing I can do about them. I'm not going to worry about them anymore. I mean, I do agree and disagree with that statement. Right now, when you're getting back on the horse, yeah, don't look at them. Unless you're trying to get an idea for a video, then just go in and look and see which of your videos is performing the best in the last 90 days and see what people are currently watching. and then you can make the next video. But that's not digging deep into the analytics. That's just an overlay cursory look. But yeah, I don't know. I think that there is stuff you can do about them, but whether or not you want to do anything about them right now is a whole nother conversation. Meta no longer fact checking is obviously very bad, but it's been great for the memes and the lols. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to do about Meta. Honestly, I'm sort of just like, I've been slowly moving all my communities off Meta over the years, just because I don't like how they run for community. Like, not being able to live stream into your groups anymore, I think is just really dodgy, and things like that. So moving them off platform to where you can actually do the things that you want to do, I think is better. But yeah, it's a tricky one, and because so many people are comfortable on Facebook, and depending on who your audience is, it's some people are like, well, I'm just leaving Facebook, and you're like, well, that's cool for you, but I've got a huge audience on Facebook, so and I can't move them off. I've been trying to move them off for years, and it's the case for a lot of people. Yeah, non-techie people love Facebook. They do. They really do. I made a decision this week. I've sort of noticed a lot more of my I've people that I follow because I kind of have to. And some of the content that they share and post is they like it. It's not my cup of tea. I'm trying really hard to be diplomatic here. And historically, I would just actually, like, some of the posts that they share are really bad, so I would just report them. And now I'm not going to be able to do that. So I've actually made the decision to unfriend a pile of people that I really kind of don't want to unfriend, but I don't want that tripe in my feed. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Tech for Your Needs is here. It's great to see you. How are you going? Trish says, I spend too much time overthinking. It is definitely a thing. Understanding that you overthink things is a first step, right? And then you have to be careful not to overthink about overthinking, right? Because I get this. I've done this, right? Actually taking action helps with overthinking. So I'm definitely now in camp. Any decision is better than no decision, right? I get really frustrated with people who can't make a decision. I'd rather them make a wrong decision than no decision, right? And then go back and fix it up. And so I find that just taking an action helps me with the overthinking. Then I've got something else to overthink. I can overthink that instead. So therefore I don't feel like I'm overthinking this other thing that I was overthinking, because now I'm thinking about this other thing that's new. So, and then eventually you keep taking the steps and you realize you can't afford to overthink on any of them because you're too busy taking the next step. Trish says, Facebook is a good family space. I don't go there except to check in on my family. Yep. I've reported so many fake celebrity has died posts, but Meta would always come back with this is fine. I would report so many fake, because I'm a massive fangirl, right? I do follow some of my favorite celebrities on Facebook. And you might write like a comment, like they'll you know, some of them are quite active, and you'll comment or reply. Then all of a sudden you've got like this reply to your reply from this seriously dodgy fake looking account, like, oh, I'm such and such's manager and they've decided that they want to have a personal one-on-one chat with a handful of our, you know, favorite audience and community members, and they really want to talk to you, and all you've got to do, and it's like a full-on WhatsApp scam, right? And you report those. And like, I do report them to the admins and stuff of those groups, but I also report them to Facebook. Now, the admins usually boot them and clear those comments, but Facebook goes, no, that's fine. And you're just like, how is that fine? Coastal Diva says just snooze them. You can only snooze them for 30 days, I think. And I don't want to snooze them. They're going. I've decided my Facebook feed is my Facebook feed, and I don't have to see anything I don't want to see. And if you're being a tool bag in my Facebook feed, then you don't get to be in my Facebook feed. That's how I'm looking at it. Trish says there's some bad info in Facebook groups, especially health groups. It's not just Facebook either. There's so many, like, you've really just got to be cautious about where you're looking for information. Like for me personally, I don't look for health help on the internet. I go to health professionals because most of the health stuff on the internet is wrong. Exactly. I don't move when I'm busy overthinking. Exactly. Livestream consultant says, I mostly use Messenger to be able to stay in contact with family and friends. Other than that, it's mostly Meta pushing whatever they want. Oh, has anyone else noticed Threads, I think it's Threads. Like I get a notification. Oh, you might want to see this thing that your other friends liked. I'm like, no, I don't. And I go in and check and I've got all notifications off. And I'm just like, I don't want any notifications at all. I want to go and check Threads when I want to go and check like to the point where I'm considering uninstalling Threads from my phone. So that's where I'm at with that. Yes, from Instagram, the scammers come from Instagram. Yeah, look, I've seen scammers on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. Like basically anywhere social media goes, the scammers go with. All the social media platforms. You forgot we exist. Please rejoin the FOMO. Yeah. SMA Sky says, yeah, I get the notifications from Threads, but I don't know if I have the notifications off. I have to double check. I've got 2 Threads accounts, and I know I definitely have them off on one account. I've got to double check the other one because it's driving me. Like I'm considering removing the app. That's how much it annoys me. I do not like, let me just check my phone here. Okay, so during the middle of a live stream when everyone's messaging me is probably not the best time to show it. But I'm that person that doesn't like to have, I'm just having a little look here just to make sure there's nothing on this screen that you can't see. So I'm one of these people that don't like to have all the little dots of notifications on things. That bugs me. So I have to go and check what it is and get rid of it. So I do tend to turn off like push notifications and things like that for most things because that's my personality. I find those things distract. I have to go like what's happening on LinkedIn that I need to go and see. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just need to clear it. A girl and her passport. It's so good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. John says, I think at some point social platforms need to just accept they're just utilities and offer cross-posting and scheduling options. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if they just accepted that? No, they don't. They're like, no, we must be the only platform. You must be platform agnostic and you must be here with us. And not agnostic, the other one. Monogamous. You must be platform monogamous and stay with us and never go to another platform for any other content. You must always be with us. And we're not going to share anything that you talk about that you may be excited about on another platform. No, we're not sharing that. So yeah, it's one of those things. Oh, Doug left. Where did you go, Doug? Was it exciting? Did you do fun things? Did a parcel arrive? I don't know. A girl in her passport says, I'm the same way. I hate the red dots. The red dots are so annoying. Livestream says, Open Vibe is an app that combines Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. Well, I don't have Mastodon, but I love Blue Sky. I am so loving Blue Sky. I love the feed that I've got because I joined a long time. Like I joined in the beginning times, and so it was before all the, you know, now there's lists that you can sign up to and you can get like a starter packs. The starter packs weren't really a thing. I mean, they was talking about them, but none of the starter packs were anything I was interested in. And I sort of just, you know, I'm following a lot of authors, a lot of artists, of like different, like digital artists and contemporary artists, and following crafters, tech people. Like, it's like this little perfect amount. And yeah, for now, at the moment, right, John's like, at the moment, they're going to have to do, as they grow and grow and grow, they're going to feel the need to do stuff. Of course they are. They're going to need to monetize and going to need to make money. It's just how it is. We can't expect them to not. So there'll be ads. There'll be ways to pay to skip ads. You know, all that'll come in. I got no issues with any of that. My issues are when they start curating my feed. That's when I get annoyed. Home Rapid Repair says, I've not joined Threads. Been thinking about Blue Sky though. I would skip Threads and go to Blue Sky for sure. That would be my suggestion. John says, yeah, someone put me on a starter pack and I got all these followers. It's wild. Yeah, I mean, I don't believe I'm on any starter packs, but the starter packs are crazy. They're really good. And and I love that, like, you can actually choose a starter pack, but then you can go through and choose who. You can either go, yeah, I want everyone from the starter pack, or you can go through and manually choose like who you want out of that starter pack. I find that it's really good. And it's really interesting. Yeah, people will find a way to ruin everything. It's like, are people involved? Yes. Then, you know, it'll be doing the thing. I find a lot of art on X. Yeah, look, I've got a lot more tech, and business sort of stuff on X than anything else. Starter packs are on Blue Sky. They're not on X. So, if you're on Blue Sky, you can just Google Blue Sky starter packs. There's like a whole page that you can go to. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a place that you can go to search through the starter packs to find a starter pack that would suit you to look into. I don't even know if there's a YouTube creator starter pack. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Get all the YouTube educators onto a starter pack. I should just develop one, because anyone can create a starter pack. That's the other thing. Like, anyone could create a starter pack. Trish says, oh, okay, never heard of Blue Sky either. Yeah, Blue Sky came out last year or early last year as an alternative option for Twitter. It's actually like this, like, Twitter was originally started by two guys. One guy left. He went and started Blue Sky. Doug says, great idea. Yeah, I might do that today. When I'm sitting down having my, I know this sounds really bizarre, but after a live stream, I need like some time by myself just to recharge again, even though there's no people here. So I might do that. I might have a look at how I would do that and research it and have a look into it. John says, yeah, there's great opportunities to collate lists of people around specific subjects. Absolutely. I grabbed onto, like, just recently I saw that there was some Yarncraft starter packs, so I went through and had a look through those and grabbed some people. Trish Does Stuff says at 7 p.m. For me, it's Monday morning at 10 a.m. So, yeah. So different time zones. But yeah, Doug threw up the Yeti before. I'm going to take you up on that, Doug. You know when you make a really good cup of tea and it actually tastes like tea? I've been having a real frustration with tea lately. If you follow the Fiberific channel, you'll know more about my complaints about tea than here. But lately I've been noticing that just tea, even Twinings, which is really is like our expensive tea here at the grocery stores, like just standard grocery store tea. I'm not talking special curated tea shops or anything, just the grocery store tea. But they're just, oh, I skipped a comment. Hang on, let me go back. Which comment did I skip? I didn't skip your hello, folks. I definitely did that one. Hang on. I'm just going back to see if I actually accidentally touched it and then jumped straight off it. Because they changed color on my screen here. Tech for your needs. I don't know which comment you're talking about. If you could repost it, it'd be really good. So pop your comment back in. I can't actually find one that you. Oh, Doug can only see the hello comment as well. Okay, so I'm not going insane. So that is a good thing. But I didn't skip your hello. I did say hello. I went back to it. I did miss it straight up, but then went back to it. Trish says, I love Twinings Earl Grey. I love Twining. Well, I loved Twinings Lady Grey. But now I have to have 2 tea bags in the cup to get the same flavor that I used to get a couple of years ago. I'm just finding them to be really lame. So I'm looking. I've been getting some suggestions for some other grocery store tea brands for me to try in Australia. So I'm actually having Twinings Irish Grey because it's a stronger tea. In this container, I had to put 2 tea bags. So this isn't even a big cup. I mean, it's big. It's bigger than a standard cup, but like it had to draw for ages. Oh, that is strange going to post it again. It might have had something in there that YouTube blocked. I don't know. Because I don't know what's on YouTube's blocked words list. But yeah, please post it again. Yeah, their green tea tastes like is like dust. Yeah, and I think that's what their black teas are turning into. So it's really frustrating. Do you think I do think they're putting less tea in the tea bags. I really do think that. That's what I think. And I think they're using, I don't know, like it seems very fine, and I'm getting a lot more residue in the bottom of the cup. So it's like John said, it's dust. It feels like it's coming through the tea bags, which I'm like, dude, I'm just going to go and grab loose leaf tea and make it myself if your tea bags can't contain the tea. Ugh. I like the Twinings arguments. I don't know that one. Yeah. So I don't know that flavor. I'm assuming that's not good. Yeah. Yeah. Look. I've got a friend who is a tea maker, and I get some of her tea shipped up. But and I love them. But it is an expensive way to drink tea, is having your tea made. So which is still delicious, and I love it, and it's beautiful. And you need like 1 little teaspoon in your, because it's all loose leaf, in a cup, and it makes a beautiful depth of flavor. So it's, it's still good. I can't believe we're talking about tea. Did Tech for Your Needs go and pop that post back in? I don't know. I'm really like, I'm sure it's a YouTube question and it's not around tea bags. Because not that I don't love tea bags, all right? Because I do. Tea bags are amazing. Oh, here it is. Oh, okay. I really enjoy using Threads. You should try to see if you like it. I've got 2 Threads accounts. I got them both in under them. I was early adopter for both accounts. Threads is okay. I prefer Blue Sky over Threads for sure. Yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't like having my feed as heavily curated as I like to do. And so I follow people because I want to read everything that person said. Like when I follow a Facebook group, I want to see the posts from that Facebook group, and you just don't get them. And so I find that side of it frustrating. And I have no idea why YouTube wouldn't have let you have that post. Anyway, but yeah, no, Threads is not, I've got Threads accounts. I've got 2 of them. I've got one for each business. But I just don't get into it. I've heard YouTube is limiting the number of accounts you can have. Is this true? They've always limited how many accounts you can have per mobile number. Well, not always. They started doing that a few years back. So you can only start a new account and verify on the same mobile account 2 times a year. And now they're looking at how many YouTube accounts you can have per email address. That doesn't mean you can't just create another email address and attach YouTube channels to that. So like as Doug said, yes and no, because I do remember, I do know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the article in depth. But I believe it's along the lines of you have to have a channel in good standing, like oh, there you go. That's what it is. Because a channel in good standing or advanced features enabled. Because all that's going to do, right? If you're not a dodgy brother on YouTube, you're going to be fine. You're not going to notice anything, because you only lose advanced features if you do something wrong, if you break their rules, right? But if you're not breaking the rules and you've got advanced features, then it won't be an issue. So it's only a problem for dodgy brothers. Trish says, I use my laptop for my YouTube, not my phone. Yeah, I mean, I use both, and I use my laptop, I use my Mac Mini, I use my phone, I use my iPad, whatever. I jump on all the things. But it won't make a difference. Like, none of that makes a difference. Using, like, because they're not going to limit it to your, like, it's not going to be an issue where you surface YouTube. That's got nothing to do with it. It's about how you create a new account. So, John says, I've never heard the expression dodgy brothers, but it's perfect. So many people are worried about losing access just because they do terrible stuff. Because that's the thing. Don't do the terrible thing. Don't break the terms of service, and you don't lose access to stuff. It's really simple. It's really simple. Don't be an idiot and you'll be fine. Isn't that like life? Like, as a teenager, you do dumb things, you learn from those dumb things, and you move on as an adult, right? And then we know, don't do the dumb thing, because last time I did the dumb thing, this is what happened. There's people don't seem to be learning that if you don't break YouTube's rules, you'll have no issues with YouTube. Like, I was in a conversation with someone about how they felt like they had to start a new channel every 2 years because their channels kept being deleted. And I was just like, well, what content are you putting out? And then I looked, and it was just like, everything you have is copyrighted. Like, be grateful that it's lasting 2 years and you're not just getting pounced on, because you're constantly uploading content that you don't own the rights to. Yeah, Dodgy Brothers is from Fast Forward. Oh my gosh. You guys need to go and find some Fast Forward episodes. If you want some iconic 80s Australian humour, 80s, 90s, go and check out Fast Forward. The dodgy accounts use a new Gmail address of each account. Yeah, because Gmail is free. Like, do you know what? Like, my husband was like, oh, which email account should I send it to? And I was like, just this one. Because like, I've got one that I use for all my personal stuff. I'm just send it to that. And it's just like, and he goes, just out of curiosity, how many email accounts do you have? And I was just like 15. And he was just like, what? And I said, some of them are aliases. And I said, but I've actually got like 8 or 9 mailboxes that I check. So I have different emails for different things. I have emails for different clients. Sometimes I get a corporate account for a client that I'm working with, so I have to monitor that email address. They're usually only while I'm working with that person, like a work email sort of thing. But yeah, it's just, yeah. I actually thought it was about those people with hundreds of accounts. Yeah, look, I don't know anybody, and please forgive me if you are one of these people. I don't know anybody who has hundreds of Gmail accounts or hundreds of YouTube channel accounts that isn't doing something dodgy. Okay, so if you have like and like having a ton of email accounts, I've got no issues with, right? Like, do whatever you want to do with them. But if you've got like hundreds of YouTube channel accounts for commenting and stuff like that, there is a reason you feel you need so many, and it's because you go into people's comment areas and you get booted from their channels. So you want another way to come back in. That's the only way, that's the only advantage I see of having hundreds of YouTube channels or hundreds of YouTube accounts. Now, I've got multiple YouTube channels. I've got multiple email addresses attached to YouTube channels. I'm not saying a pile. I'm saying, but it's not hundreds. So, Trish says I've got 3 Gmails. Yep. Esme Sky. Yeah, this is exactly, why is my channel being deleted? I'm just uploading movies and music that I like. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it is. It's SMA says back when I was high school, I think I had. Back when I was in high school, I had no email account because I'm old. Oh, um, they are dodgy as far as I'm. Yeah, they could well be. They could well be. Home Wrap Repair says I have about 8 emails between my different businesses and personal, but 15. Chantelle is a rock star. Yeah, I'd have like some of them are more active because like some of them are the YouTube account. Sorry, the Gmail account that I have got connected to my YouTube channel. Right, they get used for nothing else ever. I don't send emails from them. I don't give them out as an email address ever. The only thing they've ever been used for is to create a YouTube channel. And then quite often I'll actually go and make one of my other accounts like a manager of a channel. So that the owner of the channel, I don't even need to log in with it. I go and make one of my other accounts a channel manager. And I know that that just is ridiculous, and I get that. I really do. But I just figure the less I'm using the account, the less chance it has of being hacked as well. But yeah, so I've got 2 accounts that I don't use at all for anything else. So, but they're still email accounts that I have that I do keep a little eye on to make sure nothing's coming through on them. So yeah. I can't remember them all now, but Hotmail, which I haven't checked in ages. Did I get a Yahoo or a Hotmail? I think I got a Yahoo rather than a Hotmail. But I mean, email accounts were out, but I didn't have a computer. So yeah. The internet got big when I was in high school in the 90s. Yeah, so I finished high school in 94. Internet was getting bigger, but I didn't personally have a computer, so and had no way to access the internet. So yeah, if you are a troll, it makes sense to have multiple accounts. And that's the only reason I can see to have many accounts. That's the only reason I can see as well to have like hundreds of accounts. You're a professional troll, right? My YouTube channel associated email is super secret. However, vidIQ has it and Streamyard. See, that's the thing. They don't have mine because I've set up another account as my channel manager account. They have that. No one has my super secrets. So because as a channel manager, you can go in and do everything that you can do. So I've got channel management email address. So yeah. I have a GeoCity site in the late 90s, which is why I have back pain. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you may have. You finished high school in 92. Yeah, we're all similar. Well, not all of us, but we seem to be similar ages. But yeah, in Australia at least, it wasn't common in the early 90s for people, for regular Joes, and I was very regular back then, to have internet in their homes. It was sort of just starting to, more people were getting dial-up and things like that, but it was not as, like by mid-90s, I had my own computer, so by 96, 97, I'd bought my own computer, I had internet, I had an email address, so yeah. But not 94, because I was, what was I, 17? 17? Yeah. Dimmy Hart, so good to see you. Sorry I disappeared last time I was here. My internet died. Oh my gosh. Like a permanent death or like it just dropped out. I don't know. But glad you're back. Thanks for jumping in. We're just having a chinwag now. We're at chinwag stage. Chinwag stage of talking about all the different things. Oh, the router died. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, no, I used to, at my high school, we could hire laptops to do our assignments on if we didn't have home computers. And because I didn't have a home computer, I would hire this brick of a laptop to type my assignments out on. Because the first half of high school, we all had to handwrite our assignments. The second half of high school, we all had to type our assignments and print them out. And now my daughter, like, she's finished high school, like, Mum, I never even printed anything ever. I just turned it in with software called Turnitin. When I started to use YouTube, it was before Google bought it, and people discussed if you could trust YouTube with your videos. If it was a scam site, then Google bought it, and most people started to trust YouTube. Yeah, YouTube had a really interesting start. Like, they started out as a dating website. Like, that was what they did. That people would load videos talking about themselves, and the partner they wanted to get. They started in their first live date was Valentine's Day, and they started as a dating site, and then a couple of years later, they got bought out by Google. And there were so many people that were like, well, you know, this is ridiculous. Why are they buying out this company for this much money? And now look at it. Oh yeah. I grew up in the era of your computer still having both. Whether you had was it 6.25 inch, or I can't remember, but the big, really floppy ones, or the smaller, squarer, harder ones. Whereas now then we have, you know, internal hard disks. But yeah, Trish says, I was married in 74, had a home computer from university in the 80s, something called CompuServe, which was free internet, and a phone connection. Oh, there you go. Look, seriously, free hosting is still crazy now, right? Like back in 2005, 2006, it was insane, but it's still like in 5.25. Thank you. But I couldn't afford hosting for video, but like I'm looking at website hosting, right? Like, because I've got to move some websites around. And I'm just like, oh my God, website hosting, even just basic hosting is so freaking expensive. So I'm just like, oh man, like to the point where I was nearly just going to let one of them just die. I was going to let it die. I'm like, let it die, let it die. But no, I didn't go the full Lorax on it, and I've decided to move it somewhere else. So yeah, hosting is awful. I hate hosting. I'm so glad that YouTube doesn't charge. I was in a discussion somewhere. It was a yarn crafting discussion, and somebody lost their crap, like total frog in a sock, lost their minds in a public forum about how Ravelry, which is a yarn crafting website, deleted some of their deleted some of their photos out of their thing. Like, how dare they? They're my photos. They don't have the right. It's like, yeah, they do. It's their website, and if they feel for whatever reason your photos aren't appropriate, they can remove them. Well, I didn't have them anywhere else, and I'm sort of sitting there. Let me know in the chat. Do you save your videos somewhere else, or do you 100% rely on YouTube hosting them and never accidentally losing them? Because I'm not that person. I do not trust anybody with my data. I'm like, oh, I've got multiple hard drives for local backups, but I also back up on my Google Drive and a OneDrive. Like, I'm like, I'm not trusting anyone. I want all, like once a video is made, I might get rid of all the extra B-roll shots, or get, you know, not keep the original files and just keep the actual one that I uploaded. But like, and this, because the people are like, oh yeah, that's wrong. They shouldn't be able to do that. And I'm sort of sitting there thinking, hosting is not free, people. Like, seriously. John says, they're all on computers. I could re-upload them, but honestly, sometimes I think my content dates quickly. I'd rather redo a video than cringe over an old video audio quality. I get that, absolutely. But you've still got them is the point. You're not 100% relying on them. I keep my videos in my storage because you can download them to download the 720 version. Yeah. The other thing that you could do is You could, like, if you need to compress your files to save them, which I get that, I understand that. But when you upload it, before you remove it from your local drive, because you live stream a lot, don't you? So that's a different thing. Because my live streams are only on YouTube. I don't download the live streams. I'm talking about something where you've taken the photos and uploaded it and all that, and the videos. Yeah, I do need to make a backup locally. Yeah, because it's different when you're live streaming. You have to actually make the effort to go and download that. But I'm talking more about people that just upload their videos to YouTube and then delete them from their local drive. So yeah, hosting costs. Yeah. TechView Needs says I keep the final copy. Yep. YouTube is a sweet deal when you think about it. As long as you don't break the rules and have your accounts deleted. You know, like you know, or hundreds of your accounts deleted. Yeah, like, because live streaming is a bit different. If you're live streaming, you can go and download the 720p version of it and keep that locally if that's what you want to do as well. But I think, like with John, I think if I lost my live streams, I'd be more inclined just to re-live stream again. Whereas with my uploaded content, I keep all that. But yeah, isn't it interesting how different people have a different concept of what a company should and should not have the rights to do, even though we all agree to terms of service when we agree to have our accounts. The number of people that don't actually read the terms of service. There's so many people on YouTube that have no idea that they have to follow all the YouTube guidelines and rules. And then they're like, oh my God, my channel has been suspended or deleted or terminated or whatever. And you're like, yeah, because you're not doing the right thing. John says all my live streams are recorded to hard disk too from OBS. I brought a new computer a while back. I have an obscene amount of storage with 4 separate drives. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like even with Ecamm, I can save a local drive if that's what I want to do. But that's a lot of heavy lifting on my computer. But the other thing you could do, if you wanted to compress those, which you may or may not want to, for storage sakes, you can download some software called Handbrake. And I usually recommend Handbrake to people who've got really slow upload speeds so that they can handbrake their video, which, like, you can compress it a lot, right? And then you can see that. But you could compress it a little and it'll really drop down the file size, and you can't really notice it like on YouTube. Like, you know, you can choose your sliding scale for compression. And so I just recommend just compressing it a little bit and then checking it, and then compressing it a little bit more, then check it. And then in future, you know, okay, I compressed to this point. And, but yeah, it's really an important, like if storage space is an issue or an upload speed is an issue, go and check out Handbrake. No one reads terms of service. They really need to. Handbrake and shutter encoding are both amazing utilities. I haven't used shutter encoding, but I used to use Handbrake all the time. Yeah, John says they're both free. My favorite price point. Yeah, that's the thing with Handbrake. And I originally thought Handbrake was dodgy. Like, seriously, it has a pineapple for a logo, right? I thought it was dodgy but it's totally fine. Or at least it was last time I used it. It was totally fine. So, but yeah, it's just finding some great tools like how I'm bringing up the comments. Doug says he has both. How I bring up the comments here using Social Stream Ninja. Free, totally free to use. You can go and give the guy coffees every now and again because he deserves bloody coffee with all the work he's doing. But you don't have to pay for it. It's totally free. And you don't have to give them access to your account to use it either. Like, it's how you set it all up. They're grabbing from the public live stream. They're not grabbing it from the back end. So yeah. Dimmy says Handbrake can also help if Premiere Pro can't read some of the files. Because you can convert the file type as well, yeah. Shutter Encoder lets you download videos from YouTube and make clips, strip the audio, convert between formats, and make images and animated GIFs. It's amazing. I've always wanted to make, like, sounds so dumb, right? But sometimes I get a bit overexcited about stuff, and I think sometimes I want that to be my GIF that I use for when I'm excited about stuff, like on Twitter or something. Like, yeah, you know, or like, I don't want sometimes their GIFs are a bit like, that's not what I wanted. But that's what I have to use because I don't have anything else. But I never thought, like, I saw, I'm picturing her face. She does cowgirl dancing. Shelley Nathan. Shelley Nathan has made a pile of GIFs of herself, which is fantastic. And I love it. It's so cool. But I never, like, and it was like, oh, I want to do that. But then I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I probably could have Googled it, right? I obviously didn't want to do it bad enough. But now I'm like, oh my God, there's just software that I can just download that'll just make an animated GIF. Oh, that'd be fun. You could be your own chat command GIFs. Yeah, like I could just have me cuddling all my Yetis, like grab all the Yetis and just cuddle them all for Yeti. You know, like that would be cool. Oh, wow. I've done something to this hand and it cannot hold a full bottle of water Yeti, or milk for that matter. It can't hold a bottle of milk. So I don't know what I've done. I banged it. It's all puffy. I don't know what I've done. It's very sore. It's so sore. I mean, this one just holds water, so it is a big one. It is a big one. I don't know how many ounces it is. It's just over a litre. Hang on, it's got it written on there. 36 ounces. So that is a big one. That's a big one. But this is the biggest of my other Yetis. All my other ones are like more normal human-sized Yetis. I have a very funny face palm GIF of myself. That is so cool. SMA Sky says that he uses GIMP to make his GIFs. I only ever used really GIMP to make just like as a replacement for Photoshop. I've never used it to make a GIF or anything like that. I never even thought of it. I think I have finally made the decision to not yet because I'm in the middle of a plan, but when it comes time to renew my my Adobe plan, the only real thing that's keeping me with Adobe now is for PDFs and being able to edit PDFs. So if you guys have a PDF editing software that I can either just buy one of or at least a less expensive version of it, everything else I can do somewhere else now. So, but at the moment I have a half price plan, which I'll just gladly accept. Because like I was going to quit and they're like, what if we give it to you for this ridiculously cheap price? I'm like, yeah, I'll have that. Is it just me, or does companies like Adobe not understand that they have serious competition that's free? And I do mean serious competition. And not just like, there are some big advantages to using the Adobe Cloud, right? Like, and I do love some of that. But I would say goodbye to it if I needed to. Dimmy, I'm the same. I love their software. And I love how it all interplays with each other properly. And I'm used to it. It's just too expensive. Doug says, take a still image, use AI to turn it into a short video, then make that a GIF. Oh my gosh. Oh, Apple just bought Pixelmator, I believe. Look out, Adobe. Oh, okay. Yeah, look, I've got plenty of free options for just reading PDFs. I want something for editing PDFs. And the other thing is like for contract DocuSign, I really like that as well. They're so smart. I learned so much from these guys in the chat. It's like I live stream just so I can learn things from the chat. I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. Yours is half a liter. Okay. Yeah, my husband and daughter, that I actually think, because theirs is a bit smaller. It's the same height, but it doesn't bowl out. It just goes sort of straight. And I like this. I've actually been known, because like, okay, Yeti fangirl, hardcore, the lids all interchange. So I've actually been known to use this one as the water bottle in my handbag and just put this lid on this one. So so that I can have a smaller water bottle in my handbag. This one I just have for at home. Apple Pro software is a one-time payment typically. I'm happy to pay one time or even a reasonable fee annually, but Premiere Pro, not Premiere Pro, Adobe, how they do things is a little bit frustrating. They give you you pay monthly, but you can't cancel it. It's like you have an annual contract, and like that's dead now. That was fine 5-10 years ago. That's dead now. Now it's like you can't lock people in like that. SMA Sky says, I do like Adobe products. Someone put me on their account to help them for a while. After Effects was quite nice, and some of the AI tools are built in. The biggest thing that I would miss is all the non-free parts of Adobe Express. I use Adobe Express a lot. Like, I've actually realized how little I'm using Photoshop because of how much I'm using Adobe Express. Like, there are things that I just can't do in Adobe Express where I'm just like, oh, if I really want that, I'm going to have to go into Photoshop. And then like, do I really want that? No. Yeah, look, Trish, I'm a total Yeti girl. I think Yetis are fantastic. I think they're very expensive, but I also think they're fantastic. John says, I bought a lifetime license of the Affinity apps on Black Friday, and it was less than I pay for takeout food in a week. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, John, it is. It's like 90 Australian dollars a month. Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think I'm currently paying like $44 or $45 a month. And when that drops and they start charging me 90 again, or they, you know, I've actually, because that's the other thing, they don't tell you when your contract's coming up to end. They just automatically renew you for 12 months. And so you're like, oh yeah, I want to cancel that. And they're like, oh, well, you'll need to pay out $400 odd. And I'm like, dude, I didn't agree to another year. So yeah, it's very frustrating. You've really got to, I put a calendar note in my calendar of when that's going to roll over, and then I cancel it like a couple of days beforehand. I do that with a lot of things actually. I like Lightroom Classic free version on Android. It can do some amazing things for photos. Yeah. Trish says that she's Android all the way. My phone is still currently Android. I mean, this one is. This one's an iPhone. Also, this one's an iPhone. Abby came in here the other day, and like, because I was charging all the little iPhones, because like before anyone gets like freaking out, these are my daughter's rejects. She's already upgraded to another phone, so this is like an iPhone 7, and this one's like an iPhone 11. That it's got a cracked screen, so short of using it as like a camera for eCam, it's useless for anything else because it swipes the screen all the time. So like, and she's come in, she's like, oh look, it's my phone graveyard. Yeah. Yeah, look, when I very first started YouTube, I only used free apps. I used GIMP instead of Photoshop, and I used DaVinci Resolve. Now I had to go and get a custom computer built back in the day to cope with DaVinci Resolve. You don't need to do that so much anymore. Like, you couldn't run it on a standard laptop. It just wouldn't, but now it's better. I love Adobe Express, but I can't figure out how to create a border around an object, so I'm forced to use Photoshop for thumbnails. What I do, because I love a border around an object as well, and you're right, there's no simple click add a border to this thing, which is ridiculous. Give us that, Adobe Express, please. What I do is I duplicate the image and then change it to white, hardline it, and just slightly increase the size on it. So like if you go into effects and you can change the duotone and you can make them both white, so it's just glowy white. I quite often make it soft so it looks like a little white shadow, but you can make it hard and you can make it whatever color you want. But I just tend to do it white. And then just make it just slightly bigger. Yeah, that's what I do. It's a total workaround, but it would be nice if you could just click and just, you know, do that. Random sort of, I'm using ChatGPT to help me write a Python script to automate some things in GIMP. I think I got it up to 10 to 15 steps in a process. Oh, that's awesome. Dimmy says I use Lightroom all the time for my photography. It can create magic for the photos. It can. It absolutely can. It absolutely can. Um, Trish says, I need more memory, but I'm not ready for a new computer yet. What do you mean by memory? Like is your hard drive full, or are you actually like hitting like RAM limitations? So that they're different. They're different things. Like, because you can always dump stuff off your hard drive, and you can always just like, I mean, I'm notorious for it. I've got like an entire basket here of hard drives where I just dump my hard drive and wipe it, except for like, you know, any apps that I need to use. And yeah, so that I can, because you know, like at the moment I'm on a Mac thing. I'm enjoying Mac usage, but Mac memory is ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, like I want to spend millions of dollars on this laptop, but then I'll have to spend another $1 million to get the storage up. No, I don't. No, just go and connect a $70 hard drive to it. Boom, and I've got another, you know, half a terabyte connected. Done. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard. I always dump into an external hard drive. It's just slow sometimes. I mean, it depends on the write speeds of your hard drive. That could be slowing things down, but I tend to dump those overnight, and then the next day they're all done. Little Crafty Nook says, I have one of those. I've got more than one. You know when there's that thing that you buy whenever there's one on sale? Like, absolutely. I got a handful of them. I think they're great. Yeah, solid disk, the SSDs, the solid disks. I'm all about the Samsung T-Series. I've never had a problem with them. But whatever works for you, whatever brand is dump all your data. You dump all your data onto your hard drive. I won an SSD in a competition and got an enclosure from Amazon, but I haven't had a chance to put it together. I see these really great options for doing that, for creating like enclosures for all your hard drives, and I get it, but I've never done it. I've always just used the portable hard drives. So Trish, when you want to clear your drive, like when you want to clear some space on your computer, you grab like what you said here. I do always dump it into external hard drive. It's just slow sometimes. I would run those. I would either get a different hard drive with a higher write speed, not read speed. You want a higher write speed, and then run those overnight so you can dump your data into your external hard drive, and then you can clear your internal hard drive of some of that stuff to give yourself some extra space. The other thing that you can do is actually always have an external hard drive connected and have that be where you automatically save things. And if you are using something like the T-Series that I'm using, the Samsung T-Series, you can actually just have that attached all the time, and then it's not an issue. But for me personally, I actually have all of my data saving automatically to, like, I use all my business files on cloud drive, so I can sync, you know, basically if I'm on my laptop or on my desktop, everything's automatically being saved into cloud drives. So the hard drives are just really backups. So SMA Sky says they're a fan of Western Digital, but Samsung and Hitachi are good. I used to go Western Digital all the time, but I used to have an issue. But in saying that, that was before solid states. So I used to get a lot of data from TV shows and save on, like, you know, 2 terabyte hard drives, but they're not solid state hard drives, and then they would, you know, after a couple of years they'd die, and now I'd be sad because I would have lost my shows. And I don't do that anymore because we actually got streaming services in Australia, but that was an issue. Crafty Nook says, I have an external hard drive, but it's not a solid state. I'd look at getting a solid state. They're much faster read speeds, faster write speeds, and a lot less can go wrong because they have no moving parts. I've got a bunch of T7s, just got an enclosure, and I have to buy an M.2 NVMe drive to put it in. Doug, I need to talk to you about that because I've got a bunch of T7s and I want to put them in an enclosure, but I've never done it. So, yeah. I think I pay around $10 a month for 2 terabytes in a Google Drive. It's so easy to use. Yeah. I've got Google. My company email accounts are through Google, and as part of that, they get like a terabyte of data. And so I've got 2 different ones that both have a terabyte of data. Little crafty notebook coffee. Oh, thank you. So great to catch you. You're just grand. Oh, that's actually much smaller than I'm used to it being, but thank you so much. But yeah, I think getting access to some Google Drive space or a OneDrive space or something like that, it can be super helpful. And look, a few years ago, I had a situation. I had a laptop die, and I say a few years ago, about 10 years ago, I had a laptop die, and it was my business laptop, and all my tax information was on it, all my invoices, everything was on it. And at that stage, I hadn't considered the importance of having a hard drive. Well, I was hard drive backing up, but I hadn't backed up for a little bit. And I lost something like 4 months worth of data. And I don't know what the taxation rules are like everywhere around the world, but all I can say is thank goodness I had a regular accountant who always ran my business tax for me, because we had to go through and fill out a pile of like stat declarations and stuff like that. Luckily, you know, we were able to still have all bank statements and everything, so we could still see income, but having the actual documentation for something I lost. Other things I was able to dig through email accounts and grab, you know, invoices off that, but it was a mess, right? It was an absolute mess. And from that moment onwards, I decided that having a single backup wasn't enough. So now I have Google Drive, OneDrive, they sync off each other. And then I also do fairly regular local backups as well. So if something happens, I haven't lost my tax data again. I don't recommend losing your tax information. I've got a classic 1 terabyte drive formatted. I think for Linux, can't access it anymore. My desktop is old and won't run Linux, possibly due to power issues with the CPU. It keeps saying one of 4 cores are frozen. The other thing is, if you have got a classic like hard drive, not a solid state hard drive, but just a standard hard drive, it could just be dead. It could be that simple. And if you really need the data, you may need to take it to somebody to get that data retrieved. So yeah. Or you can, you know, go and get yourself, you know, SATA cables and try and do it yourself. But I would personally, I've got some people that aren't far away, and I can just be like, can you save this for me? And they've had to retrieve some data. They were the ones that were able to save as much of my data as possible when I had the big crash and burn. They've been amazing. I've used them for years. And when I get any custom builds done, I get them to build it. I don't build my own computers, which, you know, now that I'm on Mac, that's totally normal. But before, when I was on PC, being such a PC nerd, like I knew how to do it. I used to work in an IT department where I would do it, but for some reason I never really did it myself for my own computers. I always bought a custom build from a local store. I didn't buy a pre-build, except for laptops. But yeah, it's just not something I really got into. I didn't have the tools. And for me, it was always because I'm a very staticky person. When I was working, it was fine. I was like the actual workstations were all like good. But at home, I don't have that. I mean, you know, you expect an anti-static strap just to do its job, but it doesn't always. You have a question about public domain. Okay. Drop it. I don't know if I can answer it, but totally drop it. My dog's just lost his mind. I've got a funny feeling that there was a parcel delivered to our front door. I've never been a hardware person, happy to let somebody else build my computers. I love I used to enjoy doing it, but I was just do it like production line for corporate IT, where I'd like you know, drop in new hard drives and then just ghost computers. I mostly was doing software stuff, but with a little bit of hardware. Yeah, he is. He's amazing. That sounds so cool. Esme Sky says, if I could afford it, I'd have a local cloud of RAID array storage and classic drives for longer term storage. Plug them in, fill them, unplug them, and store them like in a fire waterproof safe. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be just phenomenal? I would, if you do want to get some sort of RAID storage, I would definitely be going and checking out Linus Tech Tips. They've been having some conversations around NAS and RAID and about the advantages of not just buying a pre-built one and actually going to the effort of building your own and adding in your own softwares, about how it's far superior. And not just because they're geeking out on it, but there's issues with the pre-built NAS and RAIDs. I can Google what is in public domain, but can I check somewhere else to verify? Trish, I personally don't use anything I have not purchased the rights to, purely because things can move in and out of public domain. Somebody can go in and purchase the rights and then all of a sudden you get hit. So I don't do that. I don't use public domain things. I will go and use things that companies are supplying for free. Like Creator Mix, where they supply all the music for free, but I still have a license to use it. If I cannot get a license to use something, I personally don't use it. So I'm probably not the person to ask, because I'm always so nervous about stuff being taken in and out of public domain, because like if you utilize that stuff and you don't understand it well enough, if a movie is made with that poem or book or whatever that was a public domain thing, that you could end up having to battle. Like, you'll probably win, but you could battle to keep it. I don't know. So yeah. SMA Sky says, I love building desktops, but I haven't done it since 2014. I haven't done it since about 2002. So I am sure the world has changed. The landscape has totally changed. The landscape has totally changed. Ghosting computers from an image is, it is. I used to love doing it. I was like the only, like I used to, like, here we go, memory lane time. Many years ago, in one of the times where I had two full-time jobs, 9 to 5, I was a credit controller for, do you guys remember Wang computers? Anyway, Wang became Getronics. I worked with them while they were still Wang, and then at the time when they verged into Getronics. Like, I was there a long time ago. So through the day, I was a credit controller, 9 to 5 credit controller. And then from 6 till 2, I think it was, or 6 till 1, I worked in the IT department. How that actually happened was, it turned out somebody in IT worked out, like in like the help desk, worked out that when there was a power outage, I could actually still help people. I couldn't visualize where they need to click without actually clicking through on my screen. So I was actually still able to, so they would actually come and grab me from my day job to go and help upstairs. And you know, do that. But then they realized the head of IT was just like, what else can you do? And so I was like, well, I mean, I can learn stuff really fast. That's my superpower. I learn stuff. And so she was just like, well, can you learn how to do this? I'm like, can someone show me how to do it? And she was like, yep. And I'm like, okay, then I can learn how to do it. It's just like, oh, okay. And so they would teach me how to do something, and then they go off and do other stuff. And then I just, you know, I was the trained monkey is basically what it boiled down to. And so they could go off and do other things. And if I got stuck, I could be like, hey, this is different. And then they'd show me. And then next time I got stuck, I wouldn't need help again. And, you know, learning stuff is my superpower. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Ghosting computers was so much fun. SMA Sky says, Linus is pretty cool. I don't get as much time to watch his videos as I'd like. Sundays as Linus Day here. On Sundays, my Australian Sunday, I'm a zombie. I've been up all night modding different streams, and on Sundays I just need to sit like a slug in the lounge room, because I still wake up at stupid o'clock. I go to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and my brain's like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. It's time to wake up. And then I can't get back to sleep. And so I sort of come up and just, you know, just drool, sitting on the couch watching the Day Before's When show, any other stuff that I want to watch. It's when I watch a lot of my, you know, Alaska content, just, you know, just all the shows that I want to watch that aren't work related. That's Sunday. I sit there and I knit and I crochet and like I work on stuff, and just to try and stay awake for the day. That's it. Oh my gosh, I do remember parallel ports. That is a long time ago. I don't think computers do that anymore. I don't think they do. Yeah. SMA Sky says, I got a copyright claim I need to dispute. The songs are different, but just have sustained notes. Yeah, totally do a counter. You've got to go in and dispute that. And get the dispute in sooner rather than later. Seriously. Yeah, I'm sure PC hardware has changed since I built them. Those M2 drives, for example. Yeah. Little Crafty Nook says, I can learn stuff, but not really fast. If someone is sitting right beside me for the first time, then it's easier. Yeah, like, yeah, I don't know if I learn faster if someone is teaching it to me than if I'm learning it myself, but I can still learn it myself pretty quickly. Yeah, terabytes of storage on something the size of DDR3. Yeah. Like, I don't need it, right? Because I don't do anything, but how much do I want a mod map from the LTT store? Oh my gosh. I'm such a, like, seriously, right here, LTT screwdriver, to the point where, my daughter became so obsessed with mine, she got one for Christmas, so she just keep her little hands off it. So yeah, so I like good tools, I like good equipment. I don't need a mod map at all, but I would sit there just staring at all the pieces, like it would be very distracting. Yeah, stupid o'clock. Yeah, some stuff happens stupid o'clock, like Little Crafty Nook. It really does. Dimmy says, when I buy a new laptop, I always upgrade it with extra RAM, which helps a bit on the editing speed. Oh yeah, and a lot of laptops especially, don't come with enough RAM. Or they want to charge you redonkulous amounts for a RAM upgrade, when you can just go and buy the RAM and just install the RAM yourself. Like, and they're like, oh, if you open the back of it and avoiding the warranty, and you're just like, really? Okay. I realize you're supporting other people in other time zones, but I couldn't interrupt my sleep schedule like that. Yeah, like it's just my week now. And the advantage is I don't get FOMO missing out on other content throughout the week, because I know on Sunday I'm going to catch it all. So yeah, I've just gotten used to it now. I miss the round ports for the keyboards and mice. I mean, I like now that like for a start, I don't even have my keyboard and mouse plugged in. Like, let's just be honest, I've Bluetooth connected them. But they were so cute. Like they were pink and green, and they were so cute. Trish says, I learn fast if it's something I want to learn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the parallel ports and serial ports have been gone since the 2000s. Yeah, like seriously, I watch a lot of Linus Tech Tip builds now, and it really is a lot simpler than it used to be. It's so much simpler. So yeah, it really is. Let's have a look here. The chat keeps jumping. Stop doing that. Lol, just install it. Yeah. LTT screwdriver. I love my LTT screwdriver so much. Oh, John, I think this with anything that you're purchasing, whether it's Creator, whether it's for any house, whatever, buy the best that you can afford at the time. Even if it's overkill for what you need right this minute, it may not be overkill for what you need 6 months down the track. And usually, and I say usually because it's not always the case, but usually the better quality builds, and I'm talking dishwashers, microwave, fridges, televisions, computers, whatever it is, usually the better quality builds last longer. And yeah, I'm grain of salt, okay, because it's not always the case. But if you can afford to future-proof yourself a little bit, it will save you time in the long run. Like when I bought my MacBook Pro, I went with the M3. I could have waited and gotten the M4, but I didn't. I got the M3. I saved myself a couple of $100, but I got it exactly what I needed. But I wasn't going to pay Mac money for storage, and I won't until Macs start to realize that we can just use. So we've got so many options. Yeah, but aside from that, whatever it is, like especially with RAM, if you can beef that up, like when I was getting custom computers built, I would like, because the guys I go to, they're fantastic. They always go, when they're building for you, they ask, what are you using it for? And so Little Crafting, feel free just to drop your questions in. I will get to them. I really will. I promise. But like, what are you using it for? So if you were just using it for watching YouTube videos and typing a Word document and, you know, doing some basic, you know, like, you know, standard level humans things, you don't need 16 gigs of RAM. You don't need, you know, like a massive graphics card. So they were able to, like, you could just, you know, amp up your storage a little bit and, you know, what, all these sorts of things. But like when I'm like, okay, I want to edit videos, and they're like, well, right, we're going to get you this way better graphics card. You're going to need, you know, a different power supply to run that better graphics card, you know. So like if you can really work through what it is you're doing and get a custom built from somebody that you trust, like my local guys, I love them. I recommend them to everybody. But, you know, you guys in the US, they're no good for you. They're only good if you're in Brisbane, really. So yeah, it's just if you don't want to do the build yourself, which I understand, I don't do my own builds, and I know how. Like, well, at least I used to know how. I'm sure I could work it out. But I don't. I'll get them to do it because they do me a great job. I learn stuff I hate all the time. I just have to do it. It's like, I need to learn this. Okay, well, I'm going to learn it. It's that simple. It might take me a little bit longer to get my way through it, but I'll learn it. Yeah, SMA Sky, I would just get in there and it's just going to be somebody auto try. Like, there's companies that pay people just to come in and claim. They don't even care. They don't check it. YouTube just went, because the YouTube music matching or audio matching is dreadful. And it gets it wrong all of the time. Well, most of the time. So, yeah. Let's have a look here. Demi says, I've switched from ChatGPT to Gemini Google and just love the deep research feature. It's great for researching new trends, and you can try and tap into when creating videos. I've been playing with Gemini. I'm not a big AI person. I don't know a lot about it. I'm probably not using the best prompts, things like that. But I'm actually finding Gemini easier to work with than I have done ChatGPT. I've got some client work that I was doing that I had to use ChatGPT for. So I still have it. But I've been enjoying Gemini. But I'm getting it through one of my Google Workspace account, so I don't know if I've got the free or the paid version. I don't know. I'd have to have a look. I'd need to check. Because there is a free version of Gemini and there is a paid version of Gemini. Just like ChatGPT, there is a free version and there is a paid version. Oh my gosh, how about the ye old SI ports? Oh, I don't remember them. I don't remember those. But I do remember like the VGA ports, the big chunky monitor ports and printer ports. They were insane. John, yes. John, have you gotten a new keyboard is my question for you. If you find a particular keyboard or mouse you really, really like, stock up and keep them in your cupboard. Look, I'm all for having spares around. I really am. But I'm not going to go out and buy a spare $200 keyboard to keep it in the cupboard. But in saying that, this one's pretty easy to get my hands on. Everyone's got it. For me, it's more mice at the issue. I got little hands, and so most of the mice are really enormous and huge. So I found this one, which I really love. It's still got all the extra buttons and the roll wheels and everything. But it's better, it's smaller in my hands. I have a question related to what I did today, related to playlists. Yeah, drop that in. I loved my MX1000 laser mouse keyboard combo from Logitech. Still haven't found a keyboard like that. Oh, how do I switch a created playlist into a single playlist? I created a playlist out of 7 of my videos from 5 years ago, and it showed up in my batch of created. I think you would have to go and that's just how it displays on your home page, right? So all you have to do is remove that from your home page, because all the playlists are the same in the playlist tab, right? But when they're on your home page, you get to choose, am I choosing a creator playlist or a single playlist? So then you just go and choose a single playlist and choose the playlist that you want to attach. Is that what you're asking? I think that's what you're asking. I'm not happy with my playlists and I can't change them. Why? Okay, so there is a few playlists that YouTube give you, and there's playlists that you create, right? But when you go in to add them to your home page, you can have them display differently. So when you go and create your own playlist, you can still have them show up as a single playlist. But created playlists tend to show multiple playlists. So I'll have to go and have a look. My brain's hurting now. But I believe that if you just wanted to show up as a single playlist, so all the videos show across from one playlist, like, so say you've got the stuff that, yeah, like John's put some instructions in there, but say like, you know, cards I made in 2024, right? Like, I don't know what your playlists are called, but cards I made in 2024, and you just wanted to show up as the videos across the screen rather than dropping down and being all different. You can choose to show it as a single playlist or choose to show it as a created playlist. You can choose those options. Yeah, if you don't put it in, if you don't dispute it, they'll keep it forever. So you have to put the dispute in, SMA Skies. John says, I haven't gotten a new keyboard yet. I think I'm just going to have to get a standard one and deal with it. Yep. I did not have a Commodore. I wanted one. I didn't have one. I love a vertical mouse and a wavy ergonomic keyboard. I've got another mouse that I use with my laptop. I'm actually thinking of switching them and putting this one with my laptop. But we'll see. Trish says, I don't keep a spare of anything. It turns into too much stuff. Yeah, look, I keep, like, of my technology for my business, if I have to have keyboards, I have a spare keyboard. I don't have a spare one of these. I've got a much cheaper one. I've got a spare keyboard. I've got a spare mouse. If a monitor goes down, I no longer have a spare. I used to, but my husband's using my spares right now. I have a spare audio interface. I have spare microphones. Or I have alternative microphones that I can use. I have alternative lights that I can use. This is my business. I need to be able to do these things. So if my camera dies, I have an alternate camera. Is that camera even on or working right now? I can't tell you because I haven't checked it. But let me just see. Yeah, there you go. I have an alternate camera ready to rock and roll. Different angle, different quality, not as good, but it works. So, you know, we have these things set up so that if something crashes and burns, that we're okay and we can continue to work. So it just depends on what your work is. Like for me, this is work, right? And this is and not just for live streaming, but this is my workspace. So all my client work, everything gets done here. So yeah. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Trish says, this is a great chat. I am learning. That is awesome. That is so awesome. What did we had? We had the Atari game console, not a computer though. Yeah. So yeah, business is different, and that's the thing. I look at it differently because business is different. This is my job. This is my workspace. And like I don't have a spare TV for the house. I mean, admittedly, it does probably seem that way. We have 3 people in our house and we have 4 TVs. But like the TV in the lounge room was dying a slow death. Like it was like purple spots everywhere. We just moved that one to the bedroom. Tim, like my husband, basically throws it on to watch cricket when he's folding washing or when he wants to lay on the bed. It just about never gets used. But it was too good to bin, but not good enough to use in the lounge room. And yeah, like there are some basics things that are just perfectly fine. Like, don't get me wrong. They're like, seriously, I'm all about the Ugreen cables from Amazon. They're not the cheapest, but they're pretty cheap. And I've never had a problem with any of them. Like I like a lot of Ugreen products. So yeah. You know what? I've only bought one J Burrows brand thing. It was I've still got it in the, I should just bin it, but it's a hub, like a USB hub, right? But whenever I plug it in, it gets a charge, like as in I touch it and I get a shock. So I don't use it because I'm worried about it wrecking my stuff. So, and I didn't realize it for ages, like that it was that was doing it. Yep, different camera angle, but it's more so like if I'm on like just a call and I just need this, it's a different setup for a different task. But it was also just a camera that it was my first camera and I wasn't using it for anything. And Ecamm just lets you, like, that's just a USB port straight in. I don't need, I didn't need it. Do you need an A10 mini to work with more than one phone camera? I don't know much. I don't have an A10 mini. I don't know much about them. I'm using Ecamm right now and Ecamm makes it very easy for you to bring in extra cameras. Admittedly, I have this one here. It comes in with a cam link, is a USB. That one there, the Canon, it comes in just a straight USB. And my phones, one of them I bring in with a USB, and the other one, when I use it, I bring it in with the other thing, with the connection. Is it NDI? I don't know, whatever it is. I don't plug it in. So, but with Ecamm, however many ports your computer can take for cameras you can use. If you've got tons of cameras, you may need something like an A10 mini or something like that to be able to deal with all the cameras. But I thought an A10 mini, correct me if I'm wrong, those of you that know more about A10 minis than me, but I thought that was a HDMI in for the cameras rather than a USB in. I thought, like, because most phones, it's a USB plug to your computer. ATEMs is not USB, it's HDMI. So I don't think you could use it for phones. Like, let me know in the chat. Oh my gosh. I remember my uncle when I was a kid, he was like computer mad, right? Always was. I don't know if he is still now, but when I was growing up, like primary school age, they had computers in the house, a cassette drive, and we would play games. We'd have to rewind. Like we'd be sitting there waiting, and like their kids would know how to run it. We'd just be like sitting there and we'd just watch. There we go. Lots of help coming in. Yeah, see, that's what I think. If it's currently a created playlist, remove it from the shelf and then add it back in as a single and then move it to the right spot. Yeah, that's what I would do. John says, I haven't tested out Ugreen capture card too much, but the first go is pretty impressive for the price. I agree, and it's my spare. It's right here. My Ugreen capture card. It is my spare. If something happens to my cam link, because it's getting old, I do have a backup. I did see that the cam link I've got it saved in my thing. I've got it saved in my computer. Like not computer. What am I talking about? My Amazon shopping list. It's in my basket. Doug sent me a link at one stage where the capture cards, like the cam links, were really inexpensive. So, My son will freak out if I buy anything electrical from a dollar store. I don't buy anything electrical from a dollar store. I'm with your son on that one. Usually those dollar stores bypass your country's regulatory import rules, and so they probably or possibly will not pass safety inspections for your country. So I would always watch that. Doug says, Ugreen has been solid for me so far for several different pieces of gear. Look, you know what? I'm looking around. I'm like, that's Ugreen, that's Ugreen. Like, my phone holder is Ugreen. These are great. I've got my iPad holder over here that actually holds another phone when I'm doing Louis Cam. I've got so much Ugreen stuff around. I totally love Ugreen. It's solid. Oh, okay. Like, look, I probably wouldn't buy a hammer because I like my hammers balanced, but I wouldn't throw it out. I would, for me, it's like, is it safe? Possibly. One thing I'll say is I've been reading some really horrible, awful stories about clothing products and things coming out of like Temu and Shein that are actually being made out of, like, they look like they're fine, but they're actually being made out of products that can actually make you sick. Oh, okay. So maybe you can ATEM it with a USB. I didn't know that. And some phones have a USB to HDMI capability. All right. Oh, there you go. But ATEMs can have either HDMI or SDI input, but not USB in. Yeah, I knew they were USB out, but I didn't know if they were USB in. Yeah, it's going to come down to the little crafting nook. It is going to come down to what streaming software you're using. And if your concern is ports on your computer, that could also be an issue. But in saying that, right now, I'm using my Mac Mini, right? Mac Mini, I have my cam link going directly to the Mac Mini. Everything else is going through a hub, all the other cameras. So, especially powered hubs. So, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Especially powered hubs. They can actually make it so that you can bring in extra camera inputs through that hub. And so this one's coming through a hub, this one's coming through a hub with zero problems. So, and I will say not all hubs are created equal. I'll get that out straight away. But if you've got a decent powered hub, you can absolutely get more camera inputs. In saying that, I have a Ugreen hub, and the Ugreen hub is bringing in one of the phones and no problems. So I was just looking. Yes, that is definitely the phone cable. So yeah, I'm like, I have 2 different Ugreen hubs. Highly recommend those as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't use Temu either. It's a funny talking point between me and a lot of my friends. They're all like, Temu's great. I'm like, no, it's not. SMA Sky says, it's crazy to me that capture cards are now just a dongle out of box from Plex store that captured coax input for cable. I mean, yeah, the technology just changes. It just changes. So, yeah, on everything, it just changes. And it's not just that you can still buy capture cards that are, input trays. My brain just will not give me the word. They go into the back of your computer, into the I/O. My brain is, anyway. And you can put multiples in. There's ones that you can buy that are like a little thing that you put on your desk that you can put multiples into. You've got, ones that aren't dongles. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just the technology changes. It's not to say the old stuff isn't good. May or may not be incompatible, but it may still technically function. But if you've got what you need and it works, then you're good to go. USB extensions. Hey, look, if you find a quality extension, you can use a USB extension. I've got some. I set up I created a Steam computer for our lounge room television so that we could play Steam games as a family out in the lounge room. And we didn't want wireless controllers. So because of how our lounge room is and where the Steam computer was, I got USB extension cords for plug-in game controllers. Those cords are great. I have no issues with them. So if you need an extension for your USB, so just a straight cord with a you know, like it's an extension cord for a USB, you can get them. Just be mindful. Don't buy cheap, like seriously, keep away from cheap cords. You want to pay for a decent cable if you want that cable to work. It is transferring your data. You need it to be decent. I'm not saying go and buy some gold thing, like crazy expensive, but just don't buy the cheapest. The cheapest ones are usually super cheap for a reason. They're quite often, they don't have any kind of, what's the word? When they code it so the signal can't escape. So yeah, there's a word. I can't think of it. My brain really hurts. I did not get enough sleep last night. But yeah, basically you got to watch out for those. Oh, okay. So you're talking about docks, right? I'll just move my ball winder out of the way here. So yeah, you get all sorts of hubs and docks and stuff like that. You know, depending on what you're plugging into it, no problems, right? But again, Ugreen. I'm a Ugreen girl. Get the ones from Ugreen. They do the job. I'm also like queen of labeling everything, so that when I'm just looking at my computer, I put it like it's on the computer end, so it's on the end that plugs into the thing, so that if I've got to unplug things, I know what everything's plugged to. And like for things like monitors and stuff, it's on both ends, so I know which end is for that monitor going into which plug hole. Anyway, queen of like labeling. You can buy thinner, smaller ones, but these ones I can reuse. Anyway, these are no problems. These are, you just want to make sure that you've got enough of the right ports. So I don't want to mess too much with that one because it's plugged in. But let me just. Do I have another one? There's another one. Do I have one with some extra bits? I think they're all plugged in. All right. These are the only ones I don't have not plugged in. So there's one with like lots of USB 3. This is the one that is the J Burrows, and it gets the electric charge. That's a local Australian company. Don't recommend. This was my first one, Targus. It's a little 4-port USB 3. This thing is a train. It works like it's an absolute beast. No problems ever. And I got that one from, I think, JB Hi-Fi. This is my Ugreen one, but again, it's all just USB-C, USB-A buttons. The one I've got plugged in, which I can't lift up, it's got like this one's, sorry, it's not all USB-A, I tell a lie. This one it's got memory card slots. And it also has Ethernet, so I can hardline Ethernet connection. And there is one USB-C slot at the end. But I found that I need more USB-C slots, so I buy most of mine now with lots of USB-C slots rather than the USB-A slots. So you just need to look at what you've got that you need to connect and make sure that you're buying the right connection for it. Okay, so if you've got a camera that you're trying to connect and it's a USB-A, so the big square ones like these, right? You want to make sure it's the blue. You want it to be USB 3, right? Rather than a USB-C, a USB 2s, which don't have a color. This is a USB 2. There's no colors in there. But it's always written on the packaging, okay? Because it is more expensive to get the USB 3s, the blue ones. They transfer data faster. The newer ones are actually, like when you look at it on Amazon, which you should be able to get in Canada, when you look at it on Amazon, it'll tell you the megabits per second transfer speeds. The higher, the better. You want at least 5 megabits per second transfer on anything you've got a camera on. Most of them are coming with 10 standard, so 5's not that much of an issue anymore. So you want to just make sure. Now, my big expensive USB purchase that I bought was I have an OWC hub for my Mac. And that means that I can actually daisy chain off it. So usually when you buy one of these, you can't just plug this into here and then use these as well, like daisy chain one like that into your computer to that, to that, to that. This other one, you can. It's designed for it. So it means that while I can plug a couple of plugs directly into it and get really high speed powered use out of it, it also means that I can connect, I've actually got connected to that one, my other little Ugreen one, which actually brings in my camera input, my stream deck, and I've got some printers and stuff attached to it. I didn't want to put anything too heavy on the daisy chained out, but I could totally do that. This is 100% right. When your stuff just works, it makes creating content less stressful. Yes, 100% true. When it works, it's just easy. And like, yeah, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go shopping for cables and USBs and connectors and blah, blah, blah. How annoying. You just have to do it once. And then everything else is easier. You don't have to be, because I have a lot of plugs, right? Like, I really do. It's ridiculous, okay? It is ridiculous. I have a lot of things that need plugging in between printers, cameras, like phones, my sound stuff, my, you know, like there's a lot that's got to get plugged in. And I was doing the unplugging. I'm going to live stream, so I need to unplug all the printers because I need those space. No, I went and worked it out what I needed to do so that everything could just be all plugged in at the same time and I didn't have to stuff around. And it saved me time. And it saved me effort and it saved me mental energy. I don't even have to think about it. Like, oh, I need to print a packing, like I need to print a label for a parcel. I've got a little, you know, sticker printer here, like a little Dymo XL where I just print, done. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to plug it in, nothing. It's all ready to go. Oh, little crafty nog, don't they ever? Yes, yes. And unfortunately, I got a quote from an electrician to come in and fix this room up because I have way more power plugged in here than's probably safe, right? But I have everything on power surge power boards, so if something happens, it should stop in this room and not catch fire. Like that's the goal, right? My problem is I could absolutely get more PowerPoints put into this room, but my house is old. And I actually need to get my house power thing fixed up first. He's like, I won't add more power to any part of this house until this is fixed up. So, yeah. My telescope setup could theoretically have at least 5 USB connections. Right now I'm using, I think, 2 and 3 or 4 that are just providing power. Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got to look at what you need. You may not need any of this. Then you can ignore it and move on. But if you are finding that you're having to unplug things to plug something else in, go and splurge, spend $20 and get yourself a decent USB hub. On that note, guys, I've been chatting a really long time this morning. We went totally off topic. It's totally fine. I don't care. I have loved the chat. I've got to geek out and talk about cables and USB hubs and stuff like that, which I don't normally get to talk about, right? So, which I love. I love it. Yeah. So I've really enjoyed it, but I'm going to go. I'm going to call it quits for today's stream. Thank you so much for hanging out and being here with being here in the chat and just asking great questions and keeping the conversation going. But I will catch you all here next week. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you get something created that you're just really happy to get done. And I'll catch you next time. Bye now.